welcome to That's School Speaks. Today is Thursday, October 24th. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Thanks for coming over and spending some of your precious October day with me. I tell you what, it is not October for so long, and then it's October for 1 second, and every year. It's not a phenomenon for this year. Every year. It's only October for a second. How is it possible? October, you are so well loved. Anyway, but thank you for spending some of your precious October with me. Or, whatever month you're in at this time in the potential future. There's fancy teas, coffee, apples. Just grab a snack. There's some yummy cheese. Just grab a snack and let's talky talk. So let's do business up front. It's the mullet segment for you. The fancy mullet with business up front and party in the back. You know what that is. Okay, so there's going to be an update. I like how if you've been watching the show for a long time, Shameless Self-Promotion used to be sung to this theme of Indiana Jones. And now the mullet is sung. I really need some musical consultations. Anyway, I have a shop update coming up November 1st. So November 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's New York City time. FatSquirrelFibers.com. If you're in the mood for a fall bag, there's some super cute fall bags in the shop right now. FatSquirrelFibers.com. But on November 1st, I'm going to put up some wintry bags. Now, I'm not trying to rush the winter season. Okay? I'm not trying to rush it to us. Again, as I stated, I want to be fully present in my October, which I've not been successful at. I do not want to rush us, but I also know that sometimes people like to have the little bags to do their little winter projects in. And so if you don't want to see the winter bags, I understand. There's a timestamp. But if you do, here we are. Okay. So this first update that's going to be November 1st is going to be only sock and large wedge sizes. So no bigger bags this time round. I will also have some more bags on November 15th. They will be more just general joy times. They will not be a holiday, I don't think. Okay. So I'm going to do something a little bit differently this time. My sock bags have not only a super cute printed exterior, they all have coordinating interiors. And they are not quilter's cottons. They are a lightweight twill, which is very similar to what I usually use. I'm just going through a different printer just to kind of mix things up a little bit. So I'm going to have some in the shop that are ready to ship, and then I'll have some that are pre-orders if those, in fact, go out fast. So if you are seeing this later and you want to just check in to see if they're there, they might still be there. That's what's going on. So there will be regular ready to ships, and then there will be some that are shipping to you in the future. Okay, so here we go. In no particular order. Right? We have these cute, super cute, warm and cozy drinks. And then the lining. Right. Sort of like Starlight Mint-esque, but not like fully. I will confess, I really hate those wintergreen Starlight Mints. I really like wintergreen. Is it wintergreen? The green ones. Maybe those are spearmint. I don't like the green ones. No, thank you. But these are just sort of like evocative of. They don't taste, don't lick it. It's not going to taste delicious. Or even, I was going to say it's not going to not taste delicious, but it probably won't taste delicious. And these will all have handles that will match the exteriors of the bags. And then, I've done this print in a larger scale before as like a large wedge size, but I just love it so stinking much. Is it not? I just put a house on it is equivalent to put a bird on it. Don't put a people on it though. No, thank you. But aren't these like the sweetest little cozy houses? And your interior on this is this super sweet snowfall, not flake, but just snowfall. And then we have these sweet purple trees. I often forget to include purple. I apologize. Sometimes I remember. Sometimes I channel my friend Teresa and remember. And then the interior of this is this sweet little, like, very sort of like nostalgic-y floral to me, but in the same tones as the purple. So cute. And then we have these little sweet ornaments. So like those ornaments that you were like in your mama's ornament boxes that have like the plastic molds and that are just so sweet. That's what these are. And then they have got a super cute candy cane lining. Right. And then last of the sock bags, but perhaps most of the sock bag. I've been wanting to do this print for so long. How stinking cute. How stinking cute. I love these little Nomi guys. They sort of like, you know, whatever. They're just so charming. And then the lining is just like a cute little berry motif with the same colors. But like, oh. Love it. And then the single and solitary large wedge size will in fact be a quilter's cotton that's interfaced. And these sweet, sweet cats in the pajamas. Like how, I mean, do you see this? She's got a little baby doll cat. What? The sleeping masks, so charming. The little, I mean, like I want all of these sleeping costumes. I will not be sleeping in them, but will in fact be just wearing them for my everydays. Right. So this gal is a interface quilter's cotton with the unbleached lining, which is my traditional. Right. So cute. So enjoyable. I hope you want them enough for there to be pre-orders, especially this guy, because I do want, in fact, so more of him. So cute. So again, that's November 1st, fatsquirrelfibers.com. My chair is being very squeaky. I need to, not squeaky. Squeaky is not the right word. What's like a low squeak? Squonky? My chair's being very squonky. Just like squeaky and wonky together. She's not wonky though. She's doing real good, but she's a little bit vociferous. So thanks for being patient with me. So yeah, that is my shameless self-promotion. And again, November 15th, I'll also have some, I'm hoping to have quilted bags. I lied. One of them might have Santa Claus. If I get that bag done, it will have a Santa Claus. Okay. So that's that. And then in Shenanigans. Oh my gosh, there have been so many shenanigans this month. It's been a blessing of shenanigans. Did we talk about, no, we didn't talk about that. Okay, so first shenanigan episode. I went to Bloomington with my friend Malia and the Bloomington Quilters Guild. I believe they're called the Bloomington Quilters Guild. Every year in the spring, they host a quilting show. Like they host a traveling exhibit. Do sometimes maybe that is why I have so much trouble remembering how to pronounce words. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, just having like a momentary epiphany, which I'm sure after like later digestion, I will discount as not correct. But we're just gonna do this together because I need to explore it. So I have so much trouble remembering how to pronounce words. People will tell me. I do much better with the like rhymes with, you know what I mean? Like if you tell me how the words that it rhymes with, I'm much better than just hearing it. And I've often been like quite frustrated with myself because of this. And I've even looked it up like, is this like a weird brain wonk that some people have and some people don't? But it just occurs to me that like lots of times when I'm saying words, I actually see the word, not all the time, but like in the rarer words of my vocabulary, maybe the words I'm not saying as frequently, maybe because I don't actually talk all that much through the week. Like I do, in fact, oftentimes, or maybe like it's just words that I'm like having a moment of struggling with pronunciation. I will often see the word, which then makes me revert to like my made up pronunciation because I, of course, was first exposed to the word via text. Anywho, what were we talking about? Exhibit. Oh my goodness. So they have a traveling quilt exhibit, which is very enjoyable. And then I think every 3 years, they have an exhibit of their own quilts so that members of the guild can exhibit any of their quilts that they would like. I mean, I don't know that. I assume it's not juried. I'm assuming that they just, agree that they can do that. And then they have, at both of them, they have a few vendors, the spring one more so. And then at the fall one, they call it the treasure chest room, I think is what they call it. And throughout that 3-year period, they accept donations from their guild members. I don't know, maybe even outside of the guild members, but they accept donations, and then they have a little boot sale in the room. It's not a boot sale if it's in a room, but it's not a garage sale. They have a little treasure chest sale where they sell all these items they've accumulated. So it's everything from what you would expect, like fabrics and things like that, to books. Oh, I do want to show you that book. To books, to patterns, to notions, to quilting rulers, all of that stuff. And it's super fun. I think I could have spent far too long in that room, and I was glad that I didn't because I probably would have bought way too much. Do we see this? Key to 1000 Quilt Patterns by Judy Remmel. And it's in the like binder. Oh my God, this is like that plasticky. It's like your church's cookbook, but for quilts. Squares. So it's just, and they're all hand-drawn illustrations. We got the like full like typewriter typeface, the Courier New. The line is hand-drawn, not even like a ruler. I'm guessing this was like maybe done, it looks like it was probably done like on graph paper. So we get just like the straight-ish line, like the typesetting or the whatever. And then the best thing about this is it has a crazy index. So the index is like 20 something pages, 25 pages long. So like they're all cross-referenced because lots of times I'm like, I'll hear somebody say something about Rebecca's fan. I've never heard anybody say anything about Rebecca's fan, but I'll be like, what is that again? And you can totally find it here. Or you can be like, for what more likely that I'm supposed to use it for. What I will most likely use it for is when I call something a Missouri Star and then I'm like, wait, is that actually the Missouri Star? And so I can look up, oh, what is it? And then amongst the quilt squares, there is also a section where it's got a few things that kind of give you like an idea of what it might look like in a larger layout of the quilt. But there's not much of that. It's pretty minimal. And in fact, they're labeled, like they're called what they are called. They're called what they're called, people. Sure. It's like this quilt is in fact called a sunshine and shadow. There's no quilt block called that. It's just this specific layout of gradations of these like postage stamps. That's what I'm. Okay, but anyway. But so enjoyable. And this edition was printed, I think, in 1992. So the third edition was printed in 1992, but the original was printed in 1978, which is probably, oh, and by the way, which is probably why I like it, because that's the year I was born. By the way, I got it home and was like flipping through it, and I was trying to find the date. It's signed by the author. So I bought more than this, but this was one of my purchases that I was quite excited about at the quilt show. So it's just really fun to get to go and see like quilt member or guild members' quilts, because the juried shows are not juried. The traveling shows are really cool and very inspiring, but it's a level of quilt making that is probably above and beyond what I will ever strive for. So it's nice to see the guild members, some of which were above and beyond what I could ever strive for, but were perhaps more accessible for my skill set than a traveling show. And also it was just fun. It's fun. I shouldn't say I wish. Maybe the guild in Indianapolis is really nice. This seems like an extra nice one. Anyway, so that was super fun. And then I was so lucky to get to go hang out with my crafty friends. We went to Illinois-Missouri line. And so it was a really pretty drive because it was a little bit more tree-y and nice than like when I go purely west, because that's just like flat and open. But anyway, so it was like a nice little drive. I got to stop. I wanted to go for like at least 2 years. Probably this is the third year. I wanted to go. There's a cross-stitch store in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is only like an hour and change away from me. But it's just a place that I never have to drive through on the way to anywhere else. And I just haven't made a special trip for the cross-stitch store specifically. It's called, did I say this already? It's called Cranberry Bog Cottage. The proprietress is also the person who organized the Merry Meat Show in New Friendship, Indiana, which unfortunately they're not having this year. But she was like moving shop and had knee surgery, so she just didn't feel like she could organize that Merry Meat Show, which I really enjoyed. But anyway, so Terre Haute was on the way to where we were going, and I was just like, you know what? Perfect reason to stop. And her shop is gorgeous. It's so fun because Keepsake's cross stitch in Cincinnati, and then her shop in Terre Haute. Very different vibe, but both equally enjoyable. So her shop is very open, huge windows in the storefront. It's very bright and light. Has a great selection of patterns, and the patterns were easier for me to look through. She actually had this really brilliant thing. So, like lots of times patterns, whether it's cross stitch or quilting or whatever, are, here we go, are in these like plastic sleeves. And lots of times there's like a little, okay, this is a better example. So there are these plastic sleeves with this little like hole in the top. And the thing about cross stitch patterns is there's so many of them. Like it's ridiculous. And so it's very hard to display them on like a regular like tourney thing. And so what she has done, brilliant, and she does this with her flosses too. She groups, for example, all of this pattern together with one of those, like those 3-ring binder loops. I don't know what those are called. They're not binder clips. They're whatever, those binder loops. And so she can put multiple patterns on one turnstile peg or wherever you're displaying it. And yet you can easily see, oh, there's 3 patterns on this one peg. I don't have to look through every single pattern. And also it means I don't have to like have 50 of those things, of those little turnstile things displayed. So yeah, Such an efficient and clever use of space. I love that. And she had a really great seasonal section up front where it was just like, at that time, was all the like fall stitches and stuff like that. So it's super cute. I will show you, I don't often show you things I've purchased, but I will show you these because I don't know when I'm gonna get to stitching them, and they're so cool. So this one is the Artsy Housewife, and it's the pattern Blue Moon. I really enjoy it. I feel like I want to put like a little tiny house maybe underneath of his feathers here, because again, I do love a weird mixed scale. Oh, and that actually happens in this other pattern because that's probably why I thought I should do it. But, right. So this one is stitched actually on Aida, which is not as common to see, but this one is stitched on 18 count Aida with 2 threads, and it's all in DMC. So there's that gal. And then I got this one, Kathy Barrick, who I really like Kathy Barrick's designs. This is AH to EF, the reproduction of an 1806 Quaker sampler. And I've been wanting to do a Quaker sampler for quite some time. And I still want to do the one that was in Beatrix Potter's collection, but I just was on the drugs while I was there. I was high on the quilts, the cross stitches. And this one looks very enjoyable. And it's cross stitched in like a really dark, they call it a door green. So it's like a very warm greeny black. And this one is stitched, I think, on 40 count. Oh, no, it's 36 count. And then this one also is Kathy Barrick. I got Gerald. See? Gerald. Again, we get a bird and then a tiny house. So enjoyable. And then this sample is stitched on 40 count. And they have both the NPI silks and the DMC. And then I just got a couple of fabrics while I was there because that is one of the things that is so hard to purchase without seeing things in person. One of them is a 36 and one of them is a 40. This one, BJM Willow? I don't know. I've never heard of that company, but I thought this one was really pretty. And this is a 40 count. Wow, the light just got so much darker. And then I also got this gal. This is Weeks Dye Works in gray, and this is a 36 count. So just like a slightly warmer neutral. So yes, her shop was so great. You're driving through Terre Haute. I highly recommend it. Or not. Let's be honest, one of the other reasons I hadn't made the trip is because I was like, dude, I'm just gonna go and spend money. But there you have it. What are you gonna do? So it was so cool. I got to hang out with friends and just be like relaxed. And oh my gosh, I did sleep on a deathbed. Not a deathbed. That's an actual thing. I was thinking of death stairs, you know. I did sleep on a very sketchy bed. And it took me until night 3? No, night 4. It took me to the last night to be like, why is this bed wrong? I don't understand. I laid down in it and it seems fine, but by the time I wake up, it doesn't. And I was just like, I don't understand what's happening with this bed. And it was not until that last night that I realized it's a twin bed and it has no box spring, nor does it have like the IKEA slat roll for, there's no support under the bed except for like 3 planks. I don't know if you've met me, but I'm not a 75-pound 10-year-old. Which is clearly was meant to be sleeping in this bed. Luckily, I didn't have any like poor back effects. Like, I don't know how that happened. But anyway, that was just a side, sorry. But it was just lovely. We get to visit. We get to go rummage around in the town of Alton, Illinois, which is a very cute little river town, which I was like, what is up with this town? Because it had some like fancy little places, By the way, I had the best turkey club. I would have not ordered this turkey club had there been an actual menu description of it, because the menu description would have contained something about some sort of like sweetie mayonnaise. I don't know what the sweetie in it was, but I'm highly suspicious of those things because they are often overwhelming. But instead there was just like a chalkboard with just the name of the thing. It was so delicious. Oh, I mean, I love a good turkey club. I just do. Is this like the most basic? It's not the most basic sandwich. Is it a relatively basic sandwich? Yes, yes it is. But it contains multiple things that you have to prepare. And so when you're preparing them en masse, that's not a big deal. But when you're just making it for yourself, am I gonna like open a package of bacon and fry 2 slices of bacon? Am I going to like, I need iceberg or some sort of like crunchy but like that's texturally enjoyable lettuce? Like, I don't have that on hand because I don't need it, except when I need a turkey club. So it is like one of my favorite things to get in a restaurant, even though it's not even a cooked item. I mean, it is because bacon. But anyway, it was delicious. But so we were like wandering around this little town and I was like, what is up with this town? We are technically outside St. Louis. Which also, by the way, how is St. Louis like the city that's like this? It has no periphery. I'm sure it does. But as I was driving in, I actually never saw the city. And yet, we're right across from the city? How does that work? Anyway. Asides. I'm very parenthetical if you're new. It's comforting if your brain also works this way. I can't imagine what it feels like if it doesn't. So, you know, you probably have already quit by now. So that's good. So I was like, what supports this town? And then I was like, oh, there's a casino, a riverboat casino. If you don't know this, because you're not from the like Ohio River area, Mississippi River area. Like we used to have complete, like in Ohio at least, there was no gambling. And the way to get around this was to have it on a riverboat. So like the riverboat would dock, people would get on, no gambling. It would get like a certain distance away from shore. Like, is there like a no man's land in the river channel? I don't understand. But that's how you got around. They're not being gambling allowed. Sorry, so many digressions. But then we went into this. Oh, I do want to show you those. Okay, so my friend was like, this place had sort of like I guess it was like a fancy consignment. Like it was like a big variety. There were like cute old linens, there was cute old housewares, but there was also just like pure art. There was also artware. There was just art. It was like a big variety that was sort of like a gifty, shoppy / consignment. So they had several really cute things in the houseware section. My friend was like, I think you need those. I had not seen them. And I was like, I do need those. So they're just like little covered Pyrexes. Aren't they cute? And then I felt very affirmed that I needed them because the other day I was on Instagram and Republic Unicornia was doing her safety pin to pin-based to quilt. And she had her safety pins in one of these. And I was like, oh, see, I did need it. Aren't they so cute, these little Pyrex dishes? They also had one that was like a size bigger, but I was like, let's not be crazy. So enjoyable. I wonder why the glass, is that for like condensation? That the glass is like ridgy on one side? I bet that's for condensation. Anyway, so cute. And then lastly, and this is like, I try usually not to show you things I bought, but I just am crazy this time. I also bought these from an artist, which her name is not on here. Oh, she doesn't actually have her little name on there. But aren't these two? I am such a sucker for a lino cut patch. Like I'm just, and look at this guy. Look at him. And then this was just super cute. So super cute, Alton, Illinois, very enjoyable. But of course, what's most enjoyable is to hang out with friends. And then we also got to see the Northern Lights. We were in the very southernmost part of Illinois. I would have never thought. Now, we did have good, like very low light pollution because we were kind of out in the middle of a cornfield that was also in the middle of other cornfields. But I just would never have thought. But luckily, one of the people that was with us is a bit of an Aurora Borealis aficionado. And so she had an app on her phone that I don't know if it just like sends her alerts, but whatever, we were alerted. And so we went out shortly after dusk. And so the level, I don't know, you need to view it through a camera of some sort because you need more light capture than your eye will do. Well, you don't need it, but that's how you're going to see the most dramatic effects. So it was just fun to have like 8 or 9 just women in the field, just like not just taking pictures of the sky, but exclaiming at every picture of the sky that we took. We were like climbing into the cornfield to try to get like artsy shots of like the corn, the dried corn in the foreground, a shadow with the Aurora Borealis in the background. Some of us were more talented photographers than others, meaning those shots that I tried to get didn't turn out so well. But so we went and it was beautiful and it was like, I mean, it was so gorgeous. It was lavenders and pinks. And I kept thinking, am I just being tricked? Is this sort of some like light pollution that my phone is capturing? And I was like, no, this definitely would not be what was happening. And I was just kind of going back and forth, but it was still really fun. And I knew it was not that because it was just so different from one vista to the next, like just turning in a circle. And then we went back inside and came back an hour later. And so it was like around 9 p.m. Central Time. At that point, you could actually see it with the naked eye. Like you could see that because it became a very much almost like a watermelon-y kind of color. And then you also had the greens and the purples. But that watermelon color, you could see that in the sky. Like it wasn't as vivid, but you could still see it. So how fun is that? What a treat. What a treat. What an unexpected treat. So yeah, it's delightful. What else? Oh my goodness, y'all. Things that I took all these notes about things to talk to you about, and then did I look at them before we talked? No, I didn't. Actually, that's not even my notes. That's what I needed to pack for my weekend. I took all these notes and then forgot to tell you about them. Okay, but real pressing news, the epiphany I had when I was about to go edit was update. I don't even know how to do the ticker tape sound anymore. I was talking last time about Cripps pink apples and how much I enjoyed them and how similar they were to pink ladies, but had slightly less sharp skins. I was informed by 2 of my most brilliant, illuminated, gorgeous, sparkly viewers that is actually the same thing as the pink lady, and that pink lady is like the TM version of Cripps pink. I feel both validated and feeling they were very similar, but then also like, but why are their peels slightly different? But that's like terroir, like, right? Like, would I ever eat a Red Delicious apple? No, I wouldn't. But the ones from my Anderson orchard are actually totally fine. Right? They're not my favorite apple, but they're like an acceptable apple. But I'm not eating one of those out of a plastic bag, ever. So those I think are all my shenanigans. Let's talk about crafting stuff. I finished some spinning. Perfect fall finish, right? So this is my fiber from Eureka Dye Works in her colorway Summer's End. It was 2 bumps of Rambouillet, so it's a total of 8 ounces. And I got something like 850-ish yards. This was on the wheel for far too long, like an embarrassing amount of time. But now she's off, and she's a yarn, and she's a little squishy baby. We're very proud of her. So yeah, that was very enjoyable. Rambouillet, always one of my favorites. Is my plying 100% consistent? No, but it never is. So there's some definite like little parts where I was wide scanning it that I was like, but they mostly evened out during the blocking and the thwacking. I definitely put the bobbins in another room. Like I put them on the Lazy Kate in another room when I was plying, because I knew that they needed to be evened out as more so than normal. And then when I was putting it, after I plied it and was skeining it up, I did the same thing. I put the skeins or the Kate in another room. So my house is 4 squares, so it's not like there's a doorway, but anyway, I put them like a good 15 feet away from the action point, whether that was plying or skeining. And that also helped even out a little bit. So yeah, very enjoyable. And then let's talk about knitting, because I'm looking at it. But that's not what I meant to bring over. Oh, I brought the wrong thing. And now Gus is barking anyway. You guys, I am so tickled. So I had brought the wrong knitting bag over. It's actually the knitting bag I've been using forever. It's got my Nexus sweater in, but my Nexus sweater is in timeout. Okay, just really briefly. My Nexus sweater is in timeout because the hem is this super cute little, like, right, slip stitch, sort of like, sort of seed stitchy kind of jam. She's so cute, right? I was knitting it on my vacation, and the pattern has you go up 2 needle sizes for it. Well, I knit the whole thing, and then she was just like a lettuce edge. Like, she was so roughly. So at first I thought, well, maybe it's just the garter stitch very edge, because you do like a garter stitch and then bind off. So I just took that out and then went down back to my like original needle size, and she was still very roughly. So I took out the whole border and thought, okay, I'll just go down and just use my regular needle size, because I am a super loose knitter, and that does affect things like this in terms of like gauge consistencies from stitch technique to stitch technique. So I thought, okay. And it was pleasant to knit. I enjoyed knitting it. So I was like, oh, that's fine. So I ripped it all out and then did it again, and it's still roughly. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This third time, not going to enjoy reknitting it. So she's in timeout. What I've decided to do is work on the sleeve, because the sleeve has the same texture, the same stitch pattern. So I'm going to do the sleeve and see if, best case scenario, I just need to redo the edge and like, the garter edge. So I'm thinking what I need to do is just do this little colorwork section, and then there's like a ridge of garter, and I'm thinking that ridge of garter I can just do a slight decrease on. So maybe like a knit 10, knit 2 together to help bring it in a little bit so it's not flaring out like that. I'm hoping that will solve the problem. But rather than do that on the 300 plus stitch sweater hem, I'm going to experiment on this cuff of the sleeve. So she's in timeout. And by the way, it is not a consistent problem in the pattern. I've looked at other people's project pages, and like every once in a while you see one that's a little bit, not even roughly, there's like a little wobble, a little wooble, a little woofle in that hem, but it is not a consistent problem across the board, and nowhere near the level of problem I'm having. Now, part of me is like, I might block it also just to see if that will help, but I would really prefer it because I feel like the amount of ruffling that's in it is not going to block out. So I'm going to hopefully the combination of blocking and then doing maybe slightly fewer stitches for the like little last and the further bind off will help. We'll see. So anyway, so that's in my work basket, my work bag, my project bag. Again, do I love a lino cut patch? I do. Should I make some for patrons? I think I should. I've been struggling with this whole thing about like wanting to do like a little value added thing for patrons. And I would love to just send you a little snail mail every month. But in my true scattershot crafting love, I can't decide on one thing. So maybe we should just do like a little grab bag like every month. Grab bag's not the right word because that implies there's more than one thing. Maybe we'll just do a tour of the things I enjoy so much. And we can do like a zine and we can do some patches and whatever. Okay, I'm just talking in my... Anyway, so the pleasant surprise that I talked about 20 minutes ago is that I could not find this project, this cross-stitch project. I have been looking everywhere. I wouldn't go so far as to say I've turned my house upside down because I knew it couldn't be like under a chair or something. But I have looked and been so frustrated with myself and thought, well, maybe I've just left it somewhere. It was in the very bottom of that bag. I don't know how that happened, but thank you so much for being with me. I found it. So that digression was all to get to this part. I cast on a new pair of socks. And this is the Twizzler sock, which is a pattern by Tangled Becca, Bekah. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm sure in other places as well. And this is Woolens and Nosh Superwash Tarhi Sport in her colorway Meet the Maitlands. Beetlejuice. So how cute is that? There, that's a better good. I can see the stripe better. Right. So now part of me is like, oh, I should have just done a plain stripe because look how cute it is in the plain stripe. Whatever, I've got both. I really love this Twizzler sock pattern because it has slip stitches, which is usually not my favorite. But what it does is really makes the sock fit well because if you measure your foot, like the top of your foot to where your sock ends is shorter than the back of your foot, even though you're putting in a heel. The whole fit, it fits like very nicely and it's also very enjoyable to do. So yeah, I knit this on size 0. Usually I'm a 00 for fingering weight and a 0 for sport weight. And then I also purchased this colorway, which is her colorway Mayor of Halloween Town because it's also so cute. So good. So that's the most of my knitting. The most of my knitting? That is my knitting. And then let's talk about stitching. Yeah. And so then, because I couldn't find that stitching project that I just found with you a minute ago, I started another one. Because I have my Autumn and Hawk Run Hollow, but that's like a big long-term project. And it's just not always what I want to be working on. It's great to have multiple things going, just like in knitting. So a while back, I apologize. A while back, I had checked out the American Patchwork and Quilting magazine from my library. So my library has that on Libby. And they, at the end, have a segment called One Last Stitch. So this is throughout all their I would say episodes, throughout all of their issues. They have One Last Stitch, which is like a little cross-stitch pattern, usually at the very back of the magazine. And so they had this pattern called, well, actually, I don't know what it's called, but it's designed by Katie Nolan. You know what? I'll put a screenshot of it here, because I'm a professional. So it's made to be like the top of a mason jar, as you can see, but I don't do that because Like, you're lucky you're getting canned goods from me. You don't also get a cross-stitch top. Settle. But I really liked it. I thought it was super cute. I like the apple itself. And so when I bought the threads for it, I'll put a picture of those in here. They're DMCs. I did not love them. They didn't really read to me the same as the photograph. They were like much more pastel, less saturated, I guess is the correct way to say it. They seemed much less saturated than the image or what I had in my mind at that point. And so what I decided to do is tea dye them. So here are my little DMCs after I tea dyed them. I just made a very strong tea and just left them in there for a while. I didn't use an additional mordant or anything like that. Whatever, just follow general directions for tea dyeing. And so I liked them much better after I finished. So I was very pleased about that. And then another thing I wanted to experiment with is that when I was at Keepsake's Cross Stitch in Cincinnati, she had just like a little tomato stitchery that was just probably like this big-ish, maybe this big-ish. And she had stitched it on 20 count linen. So essentially 10 stitches to the inch because she stitched it over 2. And it was so cute. It was really charming and had such a fun look to it that I thought I really want to experiment with that. So I had purchased 2 small pieces of this 20 count linen. One of them is just by Zweigert, I think, right? Natural cork, 20 count. So this colorway. And then I also did buy a hand dyed. This is Weeks Dye Works in Kudzu, which is really a great color. And you can see I did a few stitches down there just to sort of experiment with what that might look like. Oh, sorry. I was like, that's the back. So I did a few stitches to see what it might look like. But I also really decided to go ahead and just do it on the natural. And look how cute it turned out. Do I know what I'm doing with this? Not at all, friends. No idea. She'd be cute just in a little tiny embroidery hoop. Maybe she'll be cute on the front of a little card I sent to a friend. I don't know. Maybe she'll be a pocket on something. But this was so stinking enjoyable to stitch. I used a size 22 tapestry needle. A size 22 tapestry needle, and I used all 6 strands of the DMC. But isn't it super cute? I am completely enamored with her, and it was such a fun experience. It's been a long time since I have really been in like a flow craft state where I was just super enjoying it, really meditative, just sort of just like, oh, I just got to do one more section, And I finished it in a night and then like a few hours, then maybe not even a few hours, a little bit of time the next day. And so I'm really pleased with it. I think it turned out super cute. And I look forward to doing some more experiments with this like bigger 20 count linen stitching over 2 so that you get 10 stitches to the inch. Because it's just like got a lot of fun little like chunky charisma. So here are my little DMCs after I tea dyed them. I just made a very strong tea and just left them in there for a while. I didn't use an additional mordant or anything like that. I can't remember. Whatever, just follow general directions for tea dyeing. And so I liked them much better after I finished. So I was very pleased about that. And then another thing I wanted to experiment with is that when I was at Keepsake's Cross Stitch in Cincinnati, she had just like a little tomato stitchery that was just probably like this big-ish, maybe this big-ish. And she had stitched it on 20 count linen. So essentially 10 stitches to the inch because she stitched it over 2. And it was so cute. It was really charming and had such a fun look to it that I thought I really want to experiment with that. So I had purchased two small pieces of this 20 count linen. One of them is just by Zweigert, I think, right? Natural cork, 20 count. So this colorway. And then I also did buy a hand dyed. This is Weeks Dye Works in Kudzu, which is really a great color. And you can see I did a little few stitches down there just to sort of experiment with what that might look like. Oh, sorry. I was like, that's the back. So I did a few stitches to see what it might look like. But I also really decided to go ahead and just do it on the natural. And look how cute it turned out. Do I know what I'm doing with this? Not at all, friends. No idea. She'd be cute just in a little tiny embroidery hoop. Maybe she'll be cute on the front of a little card I sent to a friend. I don't know. Maybe she'll be a pocket on something. But this was so stinking enjoyable to stitch. I used a size 22 tapestry needle. A size 22 tapestry needle, and I used all 6 strands of the DMC. But isn't it super cute? I am completely enamored with her, and it was such a fun experience. It's been a long time since I have really been in like a flow craft state where I was just super enjoying it, really meditative, just sort of just like, oh, I just got to do one more section, just gonna do one more section. And I finished it in a night, and then like a few hours, then maybe not even a few hours, a little bit of time the next day. And so I'm really pleased with it. I think it turned out super cute. And I look forward to doing some more experiments with this like bigger 20 count linen, stitching over 2 so that you get 10 stitches to the inch. Because it's just like got a lot of fun little like chunky charisma. I also forgot to tell you that I finished my precious Halloween pincushion. So it's been gifted to a friend, so I can't show it to you in real life. But oh my gosh, it's so stinking cute. I was really intimidated to do the finishing, but it worked out really well. And I could not be more pleased with it. Like, I knew it was going to be a little bit tedious, but I was afraid that the finishing was where it was going to go awry, like where it was going to just look wonky and terrible. But as you can see, it looks super cute. I did fill it with walnut shells. So the pattern has you just filling it with regular stuffing, but I had walnut shells, so I used those. And then for the base, I just stitched in like a little fabric covered like yo-yo style cardboard circle to the bottom, and that kept everything in terms of the stuffing. And then what I did is just glued it to a wood disc that I had just painted with acrylic paint, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and the recipient really liked it too. And then lastly, in what I've been reading, I finished The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan, which was originally published in, I want to say 2006. The Worst Hard Time, The Untold Story of Those Who Survived the Great American Dust Bowl. Yes, 2006. So it is the winner of the National Book Award. And here is the description of the book. In a tour de force of historical reportage, Timothy Egan's National Book Award winning story rescues an iconic chapter of American history from the shadows. The dust storms that terrorized the high plains in the darkest years of the Depression were like nothing ever seen before or since. Following a dozen families and their communities through the rise and fall of the region, Timothy Egan tells of their desperate attempts to carry on through blinding black dust blizzards, crop failure, and the death of loved ones. Brilliantly capturing the terrifying drama of catastrophe, he does equal justice to the human characters who become his heroes, the stoic, long-suffering men and women whose lives he opens up with urgency and respect. In an era that promises ever greater natural disasters, The Worst Hard Time is arguably the best nonfiction book yet. That's a comment by Austin Statesman Journal. On the greatest environmental disaster ever to be visited upon our land, and a powerful reminder about the dangers of trifling with nature. So I've, for a long time, had an interest in the Depression, the Dust Bowl, the Roosevelt's programs, the New Deal programs, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and this really, and of course, agriculture. The word just like left me. The Ogallala Aquifer. Oh my gosh, it keeps me up at night sometimes. I don't like to think about it. The depletion thereof. So these are all things I'm interested in. They were all sort of like bound together in this narrative. It was more of a people's experience of the Dust Bowl. So you got some firsthand like diaries. You got some firsthand like more. It was a more narrative. It was a more like Ken Burnsy kind of feel to the book. Now it isn't to say that it didn't have a good foundation that stuff was hung on. It did. It talked a lot about like the environmental conditions that existed that created the Dust Bowl. It talked about economic and political reforms that helped mitigate some of the disastrous things that happened. So I think it was I think because it was more people driven, it sometimes felt a little bit repetitive because you are having people just in this very similar circumstances, which are so dire and so difficult to navigate and move through. So they're like, you want to give honor to each person's experience, but sometimes sometimes that felt a little bit repetitive. And I think I am glad I read this as a physical copy of the book, because I do feel like that might have been harder in the audiobook version, just because of like how my brain works. I don't always remember names and things as well. And I think that they could have really bled together. Different people's experiences might have bled together much more than they did reading the physical copy of the book. That said, has a very good index, which I really appreciated. Sometimes these more narrative approaches to history books don't have an index. They'll have a bibliography, but not an index. So I found that was very useful. And it is broken up into sections by time. So the first section is 1901 to 1930, the Great Plow Up. That's when you have things like a break in the normal. You have much rainier years in the Dust Bowl area, or the future Dust Bowl area. You've sort of like a change in the amount of precipitation that area gets over several years, combined with rising wheat prices, combined with settlement programs, like lots of different factors encouraging people to move into this area that has, again, traditionally been prairie grass, which was the sustenance of indigenous people and buffaloes for centuries and centuries, maybe millennia, right? And you have that in like this super short frame of time through various economic tools and environmental tools. You have like insane change in those areas. You have the biggest wheat crops that were ever seen, because again, you had these years where there was just an unusual amount of rainfall, with those crazy high prices brought on by World War I, and then the complete bottoming out of that market. This is like pure capitalism. There are no incentives in place to stabilize agricultural markets. So you have that complete bottoming out of agricultural product prices, not just wheat, but cattle and pork and everything else. You have just an excess of commodity and no market for it. So you already have a problem with people destroying this native prairie grass system. And then it's escalated even farther because in order to make ends meet, people are plowing under more and more and more of this prairie grass. So you just like such a compressed escalation of these factors, and then you just have this terrible outcome. So anyway, very interesting. Things I had not taken in before that I found were interesting were things like like maybe smaller details, but nonetheless really interesting. I didn't know that the tumbleweed is actually an invasive plant. Like the Volga Germans, so the group of Germans that like moved into the Volga River Valley in Russia, Catherine the First had like immigration, encouraged immigration of Germans because I think she was also German, right? Am I making that up? Anyway, they moved out of Russia because they were then conscripted into the army. That was part of the original agreement, that they would be able to go into this Volga River Valley and farm and do this all without having their people conscripted into the army. Well, that changes after Catherine the Great is no longer the ruler. So they then immigrate to this area of America. And when they come, they bring their wheatgrass, their wheat seed, which is vital, which is a big part of this future calamity. But it's like this red wheat that they bring in is perfectly suitable for the environment at that time in the area. But of course, with that seed, they also bring in other seed, like other unintentional seed, one of which is this Russian tumbleweed grass. And so that kind of gets mixed in with their wheat seed. And so you have this anyway, so that was really interesting. And I did not know that. Another like small little snippy thing that I thought was interesting was I did not understand that like static electricity would be such a huge problem because of this constant dirt in the atmosphere, that it creates all this extra static. So it would like not only became like painful for people to like touch each other because they would get like really massive electric shocks, but also that it would short out people's cars. And so when people would drive their cars, they would often have to have a grounding system. So they would be dragging a chain or something like that to help ground out their car, because otherwise the amount of static electricity in the environment would short out their cars. And so they had to like have systems in place to like file down the battery, what are those called? The connections for anyway. So if you're interested in these topics, but maybe you don't want to read this book, there is a really good episode of The American Experience on the Dust Bowl, which I found, I haven't watched it for a couple of years. Okay, at least a year. I don't know when it came out. I haven't watched it in a long time. And there are also other episodes of The American Experience on things like the Civilian Conservation Corps. Of course, there's tons of stuff out there on the New Deal. But I would say that those are two episodes of American Experience that I found were really interesting. There's also like a pair of episodes on the Golden Age and then the Depression. Or maybe it's like the Golden Age and then the stock market crash. I don't remember, but those are a good pair of episodes to watch, especially in these times where it feels like a lot of these systems, a lot of this deregulation that's happening, a lot of this like separation, greater separation between classes in America, like that all feels very akin to that time period. So that is The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan. Recommend it if you're interested in those topics. So thanks so much for coming over and hanging out for a while. I really appreciate your company, as always. Yeah, I don't know. I've just as like an aside, so this is more of like personal stuff. If you're not interested, I'll see you next time. I don't know. I've just been so I didn't record earlier in October. I've been having like lots. I was just feeling very unsettled is maybe the right word. Looking back on it, and I'm still in it, like not like, oh, I'm all better now, but just like still in it, but like at least having enough grounding to sort of reflect on what was happening. I was feeling really unsettled and really unmoored and just like being buffeted by everything. So sort of like more in a reactionary state of mind, which is a state of mind I really don't enjoy being in. I don't enjoy other people being in, quite frankly. And so that's more just like not really looking for affirmation from you or anything like that, but just more of like a transparency, more of a like, yeah, like these are curated moments that I share with you. These are curated moments we see in other social media. And especially coming off of like a Rhinebeck weekend where like, so I love seeing people's Rhinebeck stuff, like seeing their experiences, their trip, their enjoyment of the event, their enjoyment of the events that surround the event. Like I really enjoy it. And I'm in a better place now to enjoy it than I have sometimes been in the past. Like, there's been times in the past where like I wanted to be able to go and couldn't go for whatever reason. And I still want to be able to go like in the future, but like I don't feel like there's not that like hollow place that I'm like pouring stuff into and it feels like really painful. It's more just like, oh, I'm so glad this is a thing that people are enjoying. But I understand how it can sometimes feel very isolating and very like, oh, why does everybody get to have fun but me? So I don't know. I just thought I would just, just touch base and just be a human with you for a minute. And I don't know, maybe that's not helpful, but maybe it is. I don't know, but like, same, friend, same. Sometimes it's just helpful to know that other people are also on the bus of the struggles with you. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is in my personal life. That's a lie too, but you know what I mean? Like nothing traumatic has suddenly happened that I'm trying to like deal with. It's just, it is just the dust bowl of the anxieties and the worries and the swirling environment. And like, yeah, I definitely just need, I should be walking outside more and like being more present in my October. But then I took Gus for a walk the other day and it was just like, it was not cathartic because it was just like, amongst other things, it was just like glass everywhere on part of our walk. Like, you people who like takes these beautiful pictures of your walks, I'm so glad that you're taking beautiful pictures of your walks. Please don't stop. I love it. But like, are you going somewhere to walk? Or is this like in your neighborhood? I know that there are places I can go to walk, but for some reason, sometimes that just feels like a part of the hurdle that I can't get over, right? Like, I have to put on a bra. I have to put on socks. I have to put on shoes. And then I also have to drive somewhere? It's hard enough to do those other three things. That fourth thing is really hard for me. It's like that fourth hurdle, I'm just too tired. I guess it doesn't matter what you're doing because you're doing it. It's lovely and great. And I am not. And I just need to figure out how to make that hurdle lower for myself. I got to figure out how to get in there with my little saw and saw that hurdle down a little bit so that it's less, Okay. So anyway, rambling. So anyway, it just feels like I feel like I'm in this, like, I feel like I've been saying that I feel like I'm on a precipice for like 3 years now. I just need to either jump forward or backward, but I'm having trouble. But it's just like there's lots of things that are sort of like up in the air in my life in terms of like how things are going to proceed moving forward. There are business things that feel still like uncertain. There are I've buffeted in the dust and the swirling winds. So maybe we can just like human chain to the barn. If you're out there with me, just grab on. Maybe one of us can feel the barn and we can just human chain back. I don't know, but at least you'll feel that there's like a warm hand, and it's not just dust swirling around you. And I'm about to make myself cry. So if you've been a human hand that I have been able to hold on to, I'm very thankful for you. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.